So hey, I'm probably gonna. This is gonna be a different video. I'm gonna talk about my use of pornography, my freedom from pornography, and my continued battle with lust. So it's gonna be very honest. I'm gonna probably be disclaimers on here. My audience is men, married men in particular, but men. But I know there'll be others watching. But those others who are watching just know this is meant for men. So there'll be some things said that are I don't want to be graphic or too detailed, but I do want to get the point across. But I ultimately want to get the point across that there's freedom from this. There's freedom from this. I know a lot of men suffer, and just it's not talked about in church. It's not talked about a lot. Everyone in church squirms, and I can't even sit. I noticed I've had a great morning with my wife. My whole demeanor, knowing I'm going to talk about this, God's laid on my heart to talk about this. Everything has changed about me. I just feel a little solemn. There's a darkness. This is a dark sin. Pornography use and self-pleasure. Those go hand in hand, in my experience. So, one time, many of you know my testimony. I was at Adult and Teen Challenge for a year to the day, and one church a member talked about it in a men's morning breakfast. And even he never said the word pornography. He pointed to his phone like, well, we got this phone and this thing and the things that are on here. He never said pornography. But he said it was exposed at one person in his church, and then other men stepped forward, and it was a big problem. And they all came clean, in other words. And they said, with this being brought into the light, into the ear, that church congregation, it changed over the next 6 months. There was new life. That all those men coming out of darkness, admitting it, and actively working on it, seeking help together, through God's word, and having accountability, that really helped. Statistics say that 62% of men deal with this, and those are just 60% that would say that on a survey. There's got to be more. I don't believe it's talked about a lot in church because I don't believe the church leaders. I believe it's so rampant that many ministry leaders are not free of this, and you're not going to talk about anything you're not free of. You're just not going to. You're not going to do that. So I believe that's a thing. When I look at a group of men, I don't think who's. I believe every man is either dealing with a porn issue, has dealt with a porn issue, or they're a young man who's going to deal with a porn issue. I grew up. You had to kind of go to, I'm 50, you had to go to a store, you had to go drive, you had to make efforts to get this stuff. Now, of course, with this phone, it's ridiculous. Ridiculously easy, we all know that. My porn use accelerated with the digital age. When I got moved from my Razr phone, to the iPhone, And then there's all these sites that we all know. I realized I can get to my exactly thing that I like, within 5 button clicks, and there you go, I don't want to. It's been part of my life for a long time. It's been normalized in my life, but I know my particular problem was extra bad. I'm not going to get into graphic details, but I just want I want you to know the severity of it, so you can appreciate that the freedom is possible. You have a pornography problem if you're getting a separate hard drive to store your downloaded porn, and you're trying to decide between a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte. That's a significant large storage. I've gotten into a fender bender, very small, low speed impact while watching porn. I'm driving. My wife has found evidence of it for years. Again, I don't want to be graphic, but I want to point out, I forgot we have a smart home system and cameras, and we would just joke with each other and speak through the cameras and scare each other. And I forgot all about that one day, and she catches me and doing the worst of the worst, and that image is in her head. That's in her head. I always thought it's like a slow timed release. We think they don't know. They know. Your wife knows. They know. And men, this becomes normal. I consider that like a slow time release sin, like the sin that keeps on sinning or giving. It's like a slow, delayed, because that image is in her head. Men, think of your wife. Think if you thought of your wife getting all hot and bothered about looking at another man. That would wreck you out. But it's normalized for us. It becomes normalized in this society. And, I used to think, I would go on, I, as a recovered drug addict, I particularly sought out a lot of drugs, some over the counter, would get you in a heightened sexual state, and I sought that out combined with pornography use, and it was just a very heightened effect. But I just normalized the use all the time, and I would self pleasure, and I think, I'm doing my wife a favor, just take care of my own needs. No, you're not doing your wife a favor. You're not doing anybody any favor, and it becomes so normalized. It just becomes so normalized, and honestly, there's so much to it. You're supporting this industry for one. We never really think about the industry, but if the porn industry is not like maybe when I grew up, where they're actually like stars, or maybe they have it's just you guys know what I'm talking about. It's hardcore. Just there's no story. It's just these scenes. It's hardcore. These women they're in circulation for 2 to 3 months, and they're spit out by the industry, and they're broken when they get in there, and when they get out, it's who knows. And so to support that industry is a horrible thing. And pornography use and self-pleasure is not anything, like, I'm not even going to throw any scripture out. Like, there's certain things that you just know you should not be doing. You should know you should not be doing. You don't feel good about yourself. I know you don't feel good about yourself when you're doing this. You just don't. You don't feel good. You know you're doing wrong. You know it's awful. You know you're disrespecting your wife. You know you're living in sin. You know you're living in darkness. Interesting thing, I have a friend, and I want to tell you. So I go away to Adult and Teen Challenge, and I got removed from my phone. And honestly, this pornography thing, I'm such a hardcore addict. This pornography issue is it's not anything I'm praying about or really talking about. I was, I'm in there with a bunch of guys, and I am trying to refrain from self-pleasure. And some of the guys were open about this, and some weren't. But I actually, that was something that took a while for me to drop off of me. And I'm not going to pretend that, every couple of months that may happen. And that's, there's no pornography involved, but still that has happened. It's been several months, but it feels like it's dropped off. But, so in the center that would happen, and I would keep a track. It was such a low number that I was able to keep track of how often that happened. And I would go to ministry leaders. I'd go to the pastors and say, and I would tell them the number, and they'd be like, but you feel bad, right? You're a parent. You're like, okay, good. Don't waste my time. Like, literally, that was the vibe. Like, that's, so, but I don't want to judge myself on a societal scale or against other men. Like, that's something I really, it's wrong. If it feels wrong, it's wrong. And Paul talks about if you just simply have a self-conviction to not do something and you do it, it's a sin. So to me, that's a sin. It's just self-pleasure, porn or no porn. That's not what I want in my life. And my wife is all I should look to for that. But it's a process to get to that point. But I just want to say there's absolute freedom from this. There absolutely is. I know there's courses and things that can lead you through specifically to target this. But guys, it's my belief. If you just push into God, this can absolutely be removed from you. Now, when I started experiencing this freedom in the spring or late winter of 2024, or early 2024. By winter or spring, I was still having kind of thoughts of that in my mind. But really not. I have the privilege of not having my phone and no temptation. But so it took a while for that to drop off me, those thoughts. And then once I re-entered society and got my phone back, I prayed heavily. Maybe I need a flip phone, and maybe But I just want to tell you, that can absolutely be removed. And I'm just going to tell you the power of any wives that are watching this, the power of prayer, the power of pray for your husband. I told my wife last September, I said, honey, I was still in the program, we were having lunch, I was out on a pass or something. I said, honey, I have no desire for any other woman. She knows, we got in a place of honesty, she knows it's an issue. And honey, I have no desire to look at that, no desire for another woman, no desire for any of this. And I said, honey, I didn't even pray for this, honey. I didn't even pray. And she looked at me, smiled. She goes, you're so foolish. You're such a foolish man. Don't you think that maybe I have been praying? Maybe I've been the one every night praying to God, asking for him to take this from you. Maybe God's answered my prayers. That had an impact on me. So wives, if you're watching, pray for your husband. God hears your prayers, and he will put your husband in a situation where, my wife used to always pray a prayer for me. She told me this after I got out of the program, to make me so miserable, bring me to a low point of brokenness that I just absolutely, the pain of living that same way is worse than, the consequences are way worse than, I turn away. To bring me to a point where I turn away. And I did. But an interesting thing is I led a Bible study with a bunch of guys one recently, and I asked them, let's just, if there's sin in your life, let's turn away from this thing. And I just want to emphasize, that you're not alone. I had such a sinful life. I shoplifted. I was the one that I would steal $1 million and transfer, the things I did with my taxes, outrageous. So I was talking about that, like if there's any sin in your life, turn away. Well, over the next 2 days, a third of the group called me, and they admitted that they all had struggled with sin, dark sin in their life, and it was pornography, it was self-pleasure. And I didn't expect that. So, but that's a third of the group that felt comfortable calling to me. There's probably a couple more. I don't have close relationships with everyone in that group, so that's significant to me. And then the thing is, they all wanted to. I got the sense they all wanted a secret, like, how are you refraining from this? How are you? And then I was like, well, it's about, like, it's still a struggle. Like, there's, like, no, it's not a driving force, but yeah, lust. I have battles with lust, but it's not. And what I finally realized is, I did some research. I actually watched some YouTube videos. I don't want to get your information and everything from YouTube, but this was all biblically based. There is a spirit of lust that can be within you, where that is a driving force in your life. You're looking for all these opportunities. You're seeking these out. You're seeking a spirit of lust, and that I feel dropped off of me. But yes, I'm a man. I've got hormones. I see certain things. They trigger me. So what I really press upon, and you as men that are watching, is I tell these men all the time. I told them today, like, you got to shut every door. You got to shut every door to either become free of this or to stay free. You've got to shut every door. So the benefit of hitting rock bottom in my life is I came clean about everything to my wife. So we have a complete place of honesty. And I know that's rare. Not every husband can turn to their wife and say, this is a problem, like, pray for me, let's pray on this. That's an unusual place to get with your wife. But we are in an unusual place that most people may not get to, of honesty and vulnerability. So she knows. So when there's certain things we avoid, like we won't go to certain events. We won't go to a rodeo. The Teen Challenge went to a rodeo last year, and I know to bounce your eyes and do all those things. But I mean, these are honestly 13-year-old girls going on 30, dressed to kill. And I bounce my eyes, but there's nowhere to look. There's no safe place to look at that event. And my understanding is all rodeos are like that. It's 100 degrees, and they're barely wearing any clothes. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. What I'm saying is there's daily minefield. Like the day is like a lineman's landmines throughout your day. Remove as many landmines throughout your day as you can. On social media, I unfollow any woman, and it's not innocent. If they're just showing any cleavage, they got bathing suit around their house, I just unfollow them. I don't need that in my head. I don't need that in my head. It triggers something, and then my mind goes to a place. So yes, I don't have a spirit of lust. It's not in my mind, but I could literally just be going about my day, daydreaming about ministry, like, ministry things I'm going to do that I want to do in the future, people I want to help and whatever. And I see something and it's triggered, and in that moment, I don't call it a battle anymore. That's a skirmish of 2 to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it might be, where it's absolutely, I got to turn away from that. I got to get my whole thoughts captive. And what I always tell the men that I work with or talk to, there's really no secret. There's really no secret. And the interesting thing is, I know a guy that single man who's refraining from self-pleasure for over 3 years now. And he shows me some screenshots of it. He keeps track on an app. It was so bad. He was so entrenched in porn and self-pleasure that he got an app finally. And he was slipping up. Years ago, we've been friends for years. He was slipping and slipping. Finally, he got 3 years, And so these guys were coming to me kind of wanting a secret. And I just say, no, there is a spirit of lust, and you need that to drop off of you by pushing into God and through prayer, through study, for me serving and pushing into other people really helps me. Just getting close to God, these things drop off of you, and just eliminating exposure in your life. But I tell the guys, just close every door, close every door. Me and my wife, we don't watch R-rated movies. It's so just close every door. But what I meant to say is there comes a point in your faith where the rubber needs to meet the road. There is no secret. You got to make a choice to turn away. There's points in our faith where the rubber meets the road. That would be like before, an afternoon. Are you gonna watch a mindless ball game, or are you gonna push into God in some way? Are you gonna do this, or you gotta make choices in our faith? Like, this is not an easy road. Like, to live this life and have the full benefits of God, His blessings, it's not an easy road. The whole pick up your cross, carry your burdens, like, it's all a real thing. And it's our faith is watered down a lot to maybe initial new believers. And all accept Christ in your heart. No, this is a hard life. But the benefits are worth it. So, guys, I just kind of want to close with just, when you turn away from this thing and you start living in obedience, you're building an intimacy with God in this obedience. You're feeling good about yourself, and these things absolutely can drop off of you. They absolutely can. Freedom. I feel complete. It's been 21 months, and there's no part of me that would ever go look up porn. Not one bit. But yes, if I come see, big cleavage woman, which is that's going to trigger. And so I avoid that at all costs. Take that out of the equation. So you're going to encounter these things in our society, but when you just eliminate, instead of 12 of these incidents happening a day, maybe 2 or 3, you're fine. You can get through it. But anyway, I don't know if this is beneficial to anyone. This is a really long video. But again, I'm available for prayer, or just if something you want to talk about. Again, though, there's no real magic secret. It's just you got to turn away from it, and but it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible. And again, I'm talking this goes back to about the late 90s, 97. I discovered hardcore porn and a certain niche that I like, and off to the races ever since then. And then, of course, introduce the phone, but you absolutely can be free for this. I never thought it would not be part of my life. Again, it just gets normalized. You just accept it. But no, don't accept this. Don't accept this in your life. Accept that God can free you. Believe that God can free you, because He absolutely can. I love you. Thank you for watching. God bless.